What's going on, you guys? Mike and Gage back, ScreenSlashers. Sorry, it's been a while. I know it's been like 2+ weeks since our last video. That was my bad. I got sick and I was KO'd and out of commission for a while, but I'm feeling a lot better now. So we are back with some more Saw videos for you guys. We're gonna be doing more horror rankings, but and more horror related videos. But of course, we wanted to stick to Saw because again, it's our favorite. It's our favorite series. I think we really do enjoy it. Just as a whole. Still riding the high from Saw X. I've watched it 4 more times since then. Being sick, I had nothing to do, so I just watched it. So it just, it kept giving me chills every time. So just riding the high on that. But yeah, we just, we're back and we just want to, first and foremost, thank everybody who did subscribe and did check out our video. We really appreciate you guys. Special shout out to Frank and Darren,
Yes.
Sliderland Movie Podcast. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys for your positive support and just everyone that's been, showing us some love and, encouraging us to continue. And, we will continue and, we'll just keep trying to get better with each video. But today we're doing our top 5 favorite Saw traps. This has been
Yes.
a huge thing that a lot of content creators are doing. Huge shout out to Cody Leach. This man had the balls and literally the patience to rank all 78 traps in the Saw universe, which is mind boggling. It's a hell of a video. Be sure you guys see it. I watched it. It was insane. I don't know how he did that, especially as someone who was a casual Saw fan before Saw X. Kudos to him because that is a lot of time and dedication. But yeah, that's what we're here to do today. What do you got to say about that Gage?
Yeah, I think that I've also seen. I think the actual count is Saw X 4 more times, so I think we're on the same page
Nice,
there.
excellent.
Yeah, it's great. Like you said, it kind of just gives you chills every time. It's we've been dying for a story where John Kramer was the main was center stage for it, and I mean it was great to see that finally uh,
Exactly.
come to
Keyword
life.
finally. Yeah, keyword
Yeah,
finally. It only took 10 movies to get it right.
Yeah, I mean, like, they had a little bit of that in Saw 2 because, I mean, part of the whole, like, spiel that got Darren Bousman the gig was, like, capture Jigsaw, sit him down, page 1, and you actually talk to him. But outside of that, you haven't really seen much of that, and so that was great to see. But, yeah, shout out to the Slaughtered Lamb guys. I saw that their comment, it was on our first video, and, thank you guys very much for all the advice you had for us. And so, yeah, we're gonna give our rankings on our, top 5 Saw traps a
Yeah,
piece, and
yeah.
I think we have some ones that are similar,
Honorable
but not
mention.
entirely.
Yeah. And we got some honorable
And
mentions. I just have one honorable mention. I know you said you have a couple, so we can start with those.
mhm,
Kind of like in the last video, how we kind of just put Spiral and Jigsaw to the side.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I still stand by that 100%. But yeah, if you want to get started, I'll start with my honorable mention. I only have one, and it's because to me, it's not really a trap. It's more of a location, but it is the most iconic location. That, of course, is the bathroom. It started there. It ended there in Saw
yeah,
3D, and it
yeah,
revisited it in Saw X. So it is just the most iconic. It is what Saw is. It is where everything has been established. It's where it started. It was where it tried to wrap up. Keyword tried. Wait till you guys see our next video. The rumors about Saw 11 and Saw 12 are mind blowing. So be on the lookout for that. That'll be our next video. But
yes,
yeah, the bathroom is iconic. Wall itself to me is not a full-blown trap. It really is the game of being in the bathroom. And
mhm,
while you're shackled, while you're in that establishment, your environment, it is basically like the most hardcore escape room that could ever exist.
yeah,
And yeah, to me, it is iconic. I would have loved to have seen it. Like, I would have loved to actually gone in it. Like, it is that iconic when you think of Saw. You think of the music, you think of the bathroom, you think of the lights turning on just as they did at the end of 3D, just as they did in the post-credit scene of Saw X. It's just everything. It is literally what Saw is. So for me, it's 100% the bathroom is an honorable mention. I just didn't want to rank it as a trap because to me, it's not a trap. It's a location. It really is Saw's identity. So that's where I'm going to stick it.
yeah. So I mean, like, I do have the bathroom on my list. I have a little bit of different reasoning for
Mhm.
keeping it on the list because it is a trap at the end of the day, and I mean, it is kind of what started everything. And I'm not someone that likes to put um I guess, nostalgic traps on there, to put nostalgic things on my top 5 list strictly because of nostalgia. I just love the bathroom game in and of itself. I just think it's great, but I'll get more on that later. But as far as my honorable mentions go, I have two of them. First, I have the oven from Saw 2, like
Okay.
predominantly because like I know that it's certain, like
Interesting.
it's not super intricate and it's not super elaborate, but what I do love about it is how uncomfortable it makes you to watch, because to me that's a huge part of what makes Saw is where you have these things where you're squirming in your seat and you're like, what would I do in this situation? And where this
Mhm.
guy, where he pulls the, yes, could the trap have been done differently, or could they have done it in a more safe or secure way? Yes, but when also you're kidnapped, you go to a location you've never been to before, and you're also inhaling poison, you might not be thinking
Yes.
completely coherently, so I'll give him a pass for that. But it's
Yes,
also like
same.
a lot of people don't know that, like, what the significance of the devil and the little, what is it, the valve that they have on
Yes.
the side of the oven inside, and the reason for
Mhm,
that they say is that you turn it off, and then that's how you turn off the gas,
mhm.
and that's why Jigsaw says in the tape about the whole spiel about what does he say? Is that once
It's
you're in
like
hell,
when
only the devil can help
only
you
the
out.
devil can save you, and, like, I
Yeah.
remember, like, the image of the devil, it has him pointing to it, and it just
Yep.
says, it says, "Turn this," or something, like, it's interesting. I think a lot of people don't like the oven just because I think it was the fact that he just kinda blindly goes into it. Now, again,
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. You've got the nerve gas running through you, you're not thinking 100%. He is responsible for some of the kidnappings, so that's a little interesting. Like, Abby is actually, like, in on it in a way, like, kinda, and I think the
Yeah.
fact that he just looks inside, puts his head in, doesn't really examine anything. Now, if you think about it from if you wanna get technical, you open the oven, if you look to your left, that's where the valve is. That's where the
Mhm.
devil is. You could have positioned yourself in a different way, and he literally could have pulled it, turned it off, gotten the was it the vials,
The
and
2
probably
antidotes,
survived.
yeah.
Yeah, probably survived that trap. Now granted, had he done that, how crazy would have been if people were fighting for the vaccine? Like, for the antidote. Like, could you imagine? Like, could you even imagine?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm kinda glad in a way that they kinda did it the way they did it because it's very cringeworthy, like, I agree. When you watch him burn, it's just, "Whoa," like, yeah, yeah, I'm
Brutal.
uncomfortable, but yeah, so I in a
And
weird way, I'm glad they did it that way because I couldn't see them actually fighting over the antidote. It would just make chaos, and I think it would have taken away from the movie, so
I think one of the vials, at least one of them would have, like, ended up broken or something, and it just would have
100%,
been frustrating to watch, like, as a viewer, probably.
100%.
So then the second, I only have 2, but then the
Mhm.
second honorable mention that I have is the oxygen crusher from Saw 6.
Okay.
Um, there's a couple reasons why I didn't actually put it, like, on my top 5, predominantly because it's not really a fair trap. I mean, I understand that, like, the whole point of Saw 6 isn't that the traps are fair, but that they're all metaphorical and that they're all Jigsaw turning what this insurance company does directly at them and forcing and basically playing with their lives just as the way that they play with everyone else's. But the oxygen crusher, yeah, it's not fair. Yeah, the gender didn't really do anything. I get that, but it's also just another one of those traps that when you watch it, it is just kind of tough to sit through.
Yeah.
And you'll see that it's going to be a recurring theme on my actual
Mhm.
top 5 list. Is just tough to sit through. I mean, when you see the chest cavity blood, it's just such a tough watch. And
Yeah.
also, I know that the guys actually have the wrong. Another reason why it's not in my top 5 is because that the guys had the wrong idea. You're supposed to take long, steady inhales and exhales rather than holding your breath.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've just been kidnapped. It's probably not the first thing on your mind.
Yeah.
What do you
I
think about
think
the oxygen crusher?
so I honestly, like, I remember it, like, and I knew for a fact, like, there's no way that unfortunately this janitor guy is going to make it because he's
No.
already a smoker, his lungs are already at disadvantage. I think the reason why people got annoyed by that trap was just because number 1, it felt unfair for 2
Hmm.
reasons. Number 1, a smoker versus a non-smoker. We get technical. One's lungs is supposed to be better than the others. And number 2, someone's dying in that trap.
Hmm.
There's no there's no way both survive. And I think that's what annoyed people. And I mean, I get it, like, with some of the traps, they are just really, like, unfair, but you have to remember that we're in the Hoffman era.
Ha, yeah.
Like, yeah, we're in the Hoffman area. No one is usually someone's dying. Like, it's just it's inevitable.
I think that like the overarching theme, because I think if if what's it called, if kayfabe serves me correctly, I think that Jigsaw actually did set up that trap, though he just had Hoffman
Probably.
carry it out. And so,
Probably.
yeah, I mean, like again, like the whole thing with the whole spiel with Saw Six is that the traps weren't necessarily fair, but they were like they you all have blood on your hands, and now you're going to literally have blood on your hand. There's the whole thing with that, and
Yeah.
we'll get to that whenever we talk about the carousel,
Yeah, for
but, which I
sure.
know is a cliche, but I mean,
Oh,
listen,
no,
it's a great trap.
it's a great trap. There's what's on our list, but yeah, so those
So
were your honorable mentions?
you want to open it up to the number five?
Yeah, so number 5 for me is actually one of the newest ones, and it is the eye vacuum.
Hmm.
And the reason I put the eye vacuum is because, man, you know how to get me. It is the most advertised trap that I've seen in years, and it's a dream sequence. And that just perfection, like literally perfection. The fact that he sees the guy thinking about stealing the watch, thinking about stealing the ring, envisions the trap. It's also honestly what everyone is saying, and I do agree, it's one of the easiest traps to win.
Yeah.
It is literally, "Don't be a bitch, turn the dial, just turn the dial." Like, I know that sounds crazy, but do you want your fingers broken or do you want your eyeballs sucked out? Like, it is literally a no-brainer. Break all 5 of my fingers, I don't care, they will eventually heal somehow. I'm like, I have a second hand, like, I have both you lose both your eyes, like, that's crazy. But I think it made my list because my gosh, like, it sucks out your eyeballs, and then as soon as it was done and it wasn't real, and he sees John, he puts the stuff back, and he literally looks at him and he says, "Good choice." I'm like, chef's kiss, perfection, 10 out of 10. I think what floored everyone is, my God, we're starting this movie with that trap. That is crazy. Like, there were just so many things that just about that. I'm like, super advertised, first trap of the whole movie. It was even there was like a short on YouTube about it, and it showed him in the
Mm.
trap, but it never established that it was that number 1, it was the attendee, and number 2, that it was a dream. So that just yeah, it had to make my list. It's not the best trap by far, but it's just iconic, I think, just for what it's done to bring Saw back after all these years.
I agree, and I mirror that. It's number four for me, but we'll get to that here in a
Oh,
bit.
nice, nice.
Um, and I have a little bit of different reasoning, so that works too.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
number five for me is the tongue train from Spiral,
Okay, okay.
and the tongue train is there's a couple things that I love in a saw trap, and one is simplicity. I really hated a lot of the intricate, like this is hooked up to this, and you have this big thing. Like the marionette trap, I think is kind of like corny because it's just so like over the top, and there's so many cables and wires, and it's too complicated. It like kind of loses me as a viewer almost. Whereas like that's why I love the bathroom trap, or that's why I like the reverse bear trap is great, because it's literally just a bear trap that's been kind of reverse figured. It's not
Yeah.
super duper intricate. I like the wax waterboarding from Spiral. So we come to the tongue train though, which is my number five, and I mean, for one,
Mhm.
it's so brutal. I mean, the people that say, "Oh, it's simple, just jump off." No, it's really not that simple, man. I mean, especially whenever you see how much of it comes off whenever the cop actually does jump off of it. It's brutal, it's super simple, it's a perfect way to open up Spiral. I thought it was a great trap to open the movie on, and it really did set the tone for the rest of the movie. And it's also great because then you find out later on, like, the reasoning why the guy was in the trap, and it all kind of makes sense thematically. That's another big thing that I love about certain traps, is that they work thematically, or where they're representative of the sins of the person, if you will, because
Yes.
Jigsaw likes to view himself as a god a lot of times. It just kind of ticks a lot of the boxes that I really like with Saw traps. So that's number five for me.
Yeah, no, I like it. I still remember seeing Spiral in the theater and literally just seeing that. I'm like, yep, like that was crazy. Like I mentioned, I think Spiral is a very good movie. I think it should have just been something away from Saw, and it would have been awesome. I
Mhm.
still think we need a sequel, like we spoke about in our last video, but
I hope
I
so.
agree. I agree. I think the tongue trap is really good, and it looks brutal as all hell. Like ripping your tongue out is nah.
Even the
I'm good.
barbed wire around the wrists, like, that's a
Yeah,
cool touch.
yeah. You are literally just yeah. Whew. Yeah. So, but no, I agree. I think that's a good pick.
So
Definitely.
what's number 4 for you?
So number 4 for me is actually Shotgun Carousel. It's a little lower probably than you might have thought, but it is it is like a cliche type of trap, I would say, because it really is just like it's what Saw 6 is known for now. Like when people
Yeah.
think Saw 6, they think Shotgun Carousel. When I think of Saw 6, I think about badass Hoffman moment. Like
I do
that's my
too.
moment. That's my guy. That's my moment. Like literally, that is I go to see I will rewatch Saw 6 just for that moment. I watch the clip on YouTube all the time just because Hoffman just goes off like that. That was just crazy. But the shotgun carousel, I think, was it was just iconic because Saw, Spiral, like it really just established, it just really fit into what Saw is. I think that it was I think the only gripe I have with it is the fact that, it came down to who lives and who dies, and his choices were based on, let's save the ones who say they have kids or, whatever, all the guys died. Like, honestly, if it were me, if I was in that situation, I ain't crushing my hands for nobody. They're all gone. Like I
Oh,
felt like
man.
because in my head I'm like, how can I rightfully save two people and let the rest go? I'm like, there's just no way. Like, there's just no way. But I think that the fact that he had to endure pain for that was a little crazy. Like, he endured a little bit of pain at every single trap. Like, he didn't get absolutely destroyed, but he endured some pain until the very end, actually, to the very end. I
So
actually
that
should have.
the blood would stain his hands or
I
whatever.
should have actually mentioned that, like, just real quick. The final trap of Saw 6 where the acid gets pumped into him
Oh,
is the craziest thing I remember from that movie. Like, I just was like, "My gosh, after all of that, you let Roderick kill you." And it's just yeah, I had to throw it out there. We already know that's Roderick from Diary of a Wimpy Kid, but my gosh, like, that was just after all of that, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. So, yeah, that was crazy, but, no,
I
the
thought it was a
carousel
pretty good twist, though,
oh,
that
yeah. Oh,
that it wasn't his
100%.
game.
Did not see it coming. Was shocked in the theater. I still remember. I was just like, "Damn, damn." Yeah, so that one. But yeah, the carousel is iconic. Like it really is like, and I think everyone just begging William Easton, like the way they beg him, the things they say, the one saying, "My family's rich, we'll give you whatever we want." There's the "I'm your best
Really dark.
worker." Yeah, there's the "I'm your best worker." There's the 2 women saying, "I have a family." And then when the last one is saved and the guy is at the end and he's like, "You look at me while you kill me," or I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was cracking up. I'm sorry, shout out to that guy, like, that shit was just funny, like, I couldn't help it. It was funny, like, he's just
I don't know what I would have done in that situation with the carousel if I was in William Easton's shoes and I had to choose who lives or dies, but I do know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that that guy is dying.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I don't trust him at all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, exactly. I'm telling you, like, like that's the thing. It's kind of like you said. It's like you can't really imagine what it's like to be in that situation. Like, yeah, you're not in the trap, but you're deciding. So I've heard a lot of people say the same thing as I have. They've said, "Screw it. Why crush? Why hurt your hand when you can just kind of let it go?" Because even Jigsaw said, if you don't make a decision, all 6 rounds will go.
Yep. Yep.
Boom, 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 boom,
I
boom,
thought
boom,
that was a
boom.
nice that was a nice
That's it.
touch, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It would have been interesting if he just said, "Screw this," and let it just go. Just
Oh,
saying.
man. It It would have been good. So I can't. I don't want to give too much away because I do love the carousel and it is on my list. But I mean, I
Yeah,
do love that little bit where he was like, "Hey, by the way, if you don't make a decision, all 6 rounds are gonna empty. So you have to
yeah,
make a decision." I actually like that they had him like get his hand get pierced twice or whatever
yeah,
happens because it's like again the metaphorical. The blood is stained on your hands kind of thing.
yes,
I know that there's a
yes,
whole lot of like religious iconography that Jigsaw uses, especially in the sixth movie. I really like it. I think it adds something. It adds another dimension to Jigsaw's character. But I do really enjoy the carousel trap. I do especially enjoy though. Like I said, I'm not going to give too much away, but I do love that he did have to give something in order to make that choice.
absolutely, absolutely. And I know you said your fourth one is the eye vacuum.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So number 4 is the eye vacuum for me. And I mean, not because like it's overly sorry, I got flies in here that are driving me
Yeah.
crazy. No, but so with number 4 being the eye vacuum, not because it's super like so it again the same boxes that I mentioned where it's simple, it's something that directly pertains to what that person did wrong. I don't even care that it was a dream sequence. I actually like how they utilize normally dream sequences kind of suck, but I do
Yeah.
love how it was a direct it basically showed how Jigsaw operates and that he can see people doing these little things wrong. I mean, stealing from a sick person's fucking horrible, but it's not necessarily worth the trap that he puts him in his head. But it's just something that it shows how he operates, and it shows that what he's thinking about on a minute to minute basis. And something also that I really really like about a lot of the traps is that it was with trying to think about how to say this, but it's with all the devices at home. I like whenever you see, especially in the first couple of movies, where it shows the Jigsaw's not like a belt maker or a harness maker or whatever. He finds things like the Venus flytrap from the second movie, which is another one of the most iconic traps in the whole series. What is it? It's an old diving helmet that he just
Yeah.
puts a bunch of spikes into. It's not
Yeah.
complicated at all. Like, and I like that. And again, the eye vacuum where it literally utilizes the watch that he stole as the timer on the device. I
Yep.
like little things like that. Little things like that make like the blood and the gore is great, but I am always way more interested in the story behind it. So that's
A
number
hundred
4 for
percent.
me.
I think Saw's story, like we mentioned before, if you're really into the series, like we are, and a lot of people are, you're there for the story. You're
Oh
there
yeah.
for beyond the traps. Like like honestly, the gore, the traps is all a bonus. Like
Mhm.
once you become invested in the story, everything else is just a bonus. Saw X was no different. The traps were a bonus to the story that they were trying to tell.
100%. Like, and that's why the first 3 movies are and then Saw X too, are just kind of goated to me. I mean, again, Lee Winnell,
Yeah.
I just thought did a great job with the first 3, but it's also because once you got to 4 and 5 especially, they really did just try to make it Traps the movie.
Yep.
I thought they went back to the story and the elements of that with 6 and then 7, it gets wishy-washy again.
Yeah.
But that but that's why, the first 3 in Saw X are my favorites of the series is
Yeah.
because it's all about the story, and
100%.
the traps are kind of not they're not the most important thing. They're just part of the deal.
Yeah. No, definitely. Definitely. All right, I think we're at number 3 now.
Mhm.
And number 3 for me, now I went back and forth between 3 and 2. I really thought about it. The rewatch kinda, like, was able to establish it for me. 3 for me is the cringe-inducing needle pit. Oh my gosh. I just there's just it doesn't matter how many times I've watched Saw 2, and I've watched it 20, 30. I lost track how many times I've watched it. You can feel all the cringe. You can just feel it no matter what. The fact that Xavier throws Amanda in there is crazy. It would have been interesting to see what would have happened. I always say this, I always have these what ifs. And I mean, I think that's normal in a lot of movies. You wonder, what if he went in there? Would
Yeah.
he have been able to find it? Like, when you think about it, it's a miracle she even found it. Like, it's a
Yeah, really.
miracle she found it. Yeah, they were low on time. Like, time be honest, in most Saw movies, everybody sucks with time because everyone's panicking. They burn so many precious seconds that, like, it's crazy, and the fact that his dumbass dropped the key too is just crazy. Like, he drops the key, for anyone who doesn't remember, he gets right to the thing with, like, 5 seconds left and drops the key. I'm like, "There you go,
Mhm.
dude, it's over." Like, it's over, and it's really interesting because it makes you wonder, number 1, had Xavier gone into the needle pit, would he have gotten the key? I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. Number 2, what would have happened if they actually did get through the trap and opened the door? Where does that door lead? I couldn't remember if they said where it led.
it was an antidote.
Was it?
Yes,
So it was just you opened the door and there was an antidote there.
correct.
Got it. Okay. For some reason, I thought it led to like, I was thinking in my head, it led to like a whole nother room in the house that we never got to see. Okay.
Nah,
So, okay, good. That answers that. But yeah, no, it's iconic for sure. It is cringe inducing to the ultimate cringe inducing. I couldn't even imagine getting poked by all those dirty needles. And she, like, her arms, like, are, like, you're barefoot. You're literally like, your arms are exposed, you're getting poked everywhere. Like, it was
it's
just
so bad. I
yeah,
mean, it's
yeah.
so bad, and, like, the number 3 for me is also the needle pit.
Oh, nice,
So
nice.
to piggyback off of what you're saying, I guess, a little bit, is that, first of all, I told the story the last time, but I love telling it, is that
Mhm.
they originally the scene didn't work because of all the clattering of the plastic, the plastic
Right,
needles on it,
right.
and so it didn't work, but then they poured real glass and then raked it around and recorded that sound and put it over the video of Shawnee Smith crawling through the needles, and they went from saying, "This scene doesn't work," to saying, "This is the worst thing I've ever seen." So,
Yeah,
it
no,
just shows you the
it's
importance of sound, and, I
100%.
I love the scene. I also love hearing about all the effort that went into that scene. Fun fact, there are over 100, this is true, 140,000 needles are in that pit.
Oh, wow, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
you
Yeah, yeah,
look it
I
up.
heard something similar to that, yeah. There was, like, there's a channel, like, I'll shout them out, Horror Sauce, I believe is the name. I hope I'm saying that right. I
That
believe
sounds
that's
right.
the channel. So the believe that's the channel name. I hope I'm right. I'm gonna double check that later, but they do a lot of, like, Saw trivia videos, and I remember one of the questions on one of theirs was how many needles were actually
Yeah.
in that, yeah, and it's, like, an obscene, number, so, yeah, a
It's
lot of
just one
effort
of
went
the
into that.
worst scenes that
Yeah.
I've ever seen in a movie. Like, it really is one of those traps that if you put that at number 1 on your list, I totally understand.
Oh, yeah, and I'm sure there's plenty of people that have. I know it's ranked very high. A lot of channels do, like, tier lists, and it's very high up. I believe it's in the highest tier for most people.
Oh, yeah. It has to be.
Yes, like, for
If
sure, like
if you walk away from that scene being like, "Oh, that didn't affect me," like, you're full of shit.
yeah, exactly, and yes, I was right, it is Horror Sauce. So, yeah, shout out to Horror Sauce because they did the Saw 2 trivia, and whew, yeah, that was something else. So, yeah, so, wow, we're actually in agreement. That's our first one we're in agreement on, with the
Yeah,
Needle Pit being number 3, nice. Alright, well, now number 2. I had to go with a classic, had to be the Reverse Bear Trap.
yeah.
As you mentioned, and I never thought of this until you actually mentioned it today in this video, is the simplicity of that trap. The fact that it's a bear trap that got modified, the fact that it is just, what the hell do you do? Like, something, you've got the thing that's in your mouth, you're just, like, panicking, you're like, "What do I do?" And, yeah, it's again, it's iconic. The fact that Amanda survived, but having to do a whole 'nother task to survive was crazy. The fact that Hoffman, being badass Hoffman, the Hoffinator, he's literally like the Terminator, I swear. The fact that he found his way out of the chair and look, and in a split second saw the bars to split the opening so he could get out, ripping half his face off, is just crazy. Like, it is nuts. And then I'm
Full
not
Joker.
I'm glad we got to see it finally go off in Saw 3D.
I
I
agree.
just wish it was not on Jill. No offense, I
Yeah.
don't think she was important enough a character for that. I think it should have been on someone a little more, either it should have been on someone doing the test, or it should have been on, honestly, I don't even know who else it could be on. Like, it
Yeah, I
was
don't really
just
know
like,
either.
it just didn't feel right with it being used on her because she wasn't important enough a character. Like, she went from being against Jigsaw's ways to immediately being on board. It was just a little
Yeah,
weird. It was just a little weird. I mean, like I mentioned before, the fact that Gordon had to act after she died, there were just too many things that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way with, like, little things like that, but yeah, it's still an iconic trap. I'm glad we got to see it go off. It's graphic as all freaking hell. I remember seeing it in the theaters when it was 3D, and yes, the crap goes right into your face for like a couple seconds. So, but just even watching it now, like, even though the blood looks like pink, it doesn't matter. It was just, it was, whew. Yeah,
see
it was
every bit
very
of it.
graphic. It was very graphic, and it is a Saw classic for sure. So it had to be on there. I couldn't honorable mention it. It was pretty high. I was like, it's not my number one, but it's up there because it's, again, like the bathroom. It establishes what Saw is.
Yeah, and I mean the simplicity, like you mentioned. I mean, it's a great trap, and I mean it was a big part in what put Saw on the map because people would see these posters at the side of the movie theater of Shawnee Smith with the bear trap on, and people were
Yeah,
like, "What in the hell is that?" And that's how it started. So I mean,
yeah,
it
exactly,
became Saw. So I mean,
exactly.
yeah. And so then number two for me is I have the bathroom from Saw.
Yes,
Is that I know that you mentioned that it's more of, like, I think we said this off camera, that it's more of like a game than it is a trap. But I mean, the reason why I put it on here is for a number of reasons. I mean, like I mentioned, again, the simplicity. They're just two people locked in one side of a room or another. I mentioned in the last episode how much I love guerrilla warfare, or excuse me, how much I love guerrilla filmmaking and how much I love simplicity in filmmaking, and how it's just the entirety of Saw 1 was filmed in one location, and I think they filmed it in like 18 days or something like that, which is
something like that. It was very what
outrageously fast.
$1 million budget,
Hmm.
filmed in under a month, one location.
That's all it
Craziness.
takes. That's all it
Yeah,
takes. And I mean, like, because if the story's that good, then the crowd will go with you to the
exactly.
places where you want them to go. And so the bathroom is just so good and so iconic. And I mean, again, it's the simplicity. And I mean, a big thing about Saw and a big thing that I look for in a lot of the traps is that if it gives you that feeling of what would I do in that situation, because that is Saw at its core. And I think it's a great story that they tell. I know we mentioned in the last episode how you go from Adam being panicked at the beginning and Lawrence trying to keep both of them calm, and then by the end Lawrence is completely freaked out and it's Adam trying to keep
Yes.
everybody calm. There's just a great story that gets told with the trap. It's a great, it gives you that great feeling of what would I do. You don't even know what's around them. You don't know if the door out there is going to lead to the outside or if it's going to be, down a long tunnel. Like, you don't know anything if you go into Saw One blind. And so I mean, it's just a great trap on every single possible level. So it's number 2 for me.
Absolutely. And yeah, there's just the way you come back to it in multiple movies just really just hits home. Like,
Yeah.
the first Saw establishes it, Saw 2 when they find their way into it, when they open that door and that's the bathroom. In Saw 3D, I think is the last time we see it before Saw X, Saw 3D, of
Mm.
course, coming back, and just everything, Jigsaw's monologue while we're getting the Gordon reveal, just those lights, everything, and then the
Those
fact that,
goddamn lights.
yes, and the fact that that's the post-credit scene in Saw X is just chills. There was a reason why the minute I saw those lights, chills, just chills. And it was just, yes, I agree. It is one of it is Saw. That is it. That's the way I'll say it. The bathroom is Saw. That is what Saw is. So
At its core.
exactly, exactly. All right. And my number one. Now this one, 100%. If I'm in it and you're not safe, like, please just don't put me in it. Please just kill me some other way. It is the rack. The rack is the most brutal trap I can honestly think of. I just can't even fathom that trap. It is just terrifying. You have nowhere to go. You are praying for someone to save you. There is no way to beat that trap. It is literally unwinnable if someone does not release you.
Yeah.
and it is just the way you go out is crazy. It is just your entire body just gets contorted, like rotated.
I also love the story that gets told with the rack where
Yes.
it's Jeff and you see him standing in front of him, and it's one of
Yes.
my favorite exchanges it's one of my favorite exchanges in all of Saw whenever the judge says to him, standing there not doing anything, you're an accomplice to murder, are you a
Exactly.
murderer? And he says, I
Yeah.
wanted to kill him every day for years. Maybe I
Yeah.
am. I
Yeah. No, it
I
was.
love that.
Yeah, that was just nuts. But I had to put it as my number one because it is literally the trap that out of all the traps, that's the one that I'm just like, nope, I'm I'm out. You got me, dude. Please just any other way, just not that. Not that. Like that is just it is I mean, it's called the rack. Like it's literally just crazy to me. Like I believe now, I could be wrong. Was the rack the trap that he was doodling in Saw X?
Correct. Yeah, he was doing
Yeah,
the head
yes,
harness.
and oh god, like it was such for a split second, but getting to rewatch it, I got to pause it, and I
Yeah.
just thought, "Oh my gosh, that is exactly what I thought it was." Like I saw it so quickly that I just was like, "Wait, why does that look familiar?" And, you kind of forget about it, and then you think about it, and I'm like, "Oh crap, was that the rack? Was that the blueprints to the rack?" And yeah, so 100% for me, the rack is number one. It is between that and the needle pit, they are the most cringe inducing. But I think the rack is just like the needle pit. The difference with the needle pit is that you go in or you don't go in.
It's also not fatal usually.
Yes, yes. You can decide to just say, screw it, I'm not going in. I guess we're not getting the I'd rather the gas kill me than the rack. So yeah, so for me, 100%, I got the rack at number one.
Well, so my number one, I already hinted at it a little earlier, but it is the carousel from Saw
Okay.
6. And I mean, it's a trap that like I don't see people put it at number one necessarily, but it's always in the top tier of people.
Oh,
But I
easily.
have, I like in addition to the trap just being brutal. I mean, like just getting blown away from with a shotgun at close range. In addition to the things we already talked about and the little details that how if you don't play the game, all 6 rounds are going to kill all 6
Yes.
people, but it's also the story that gets told with the trap. Oh, real quick before I get into that, it's also a trap that's super simple with very minimal amount of things used. It's a shotgun, a bicycle, and a merry-go-round. That's it.
Yes,
That's the
yes,
whole
yes.
trap.
It's a
And
it's a play it's a playground
yeah,
thing, which is
pretty
crazy.
much.
It's
And I mean,
Jigsaw's playground.
it's it really is, isn't it? But on top of that, it's the story that gets told with it, which is that these 6 people are responsible for ejecting 2/3 of all applicants for this health insurance company. So they essentially kill 2/3 of people. And so in this trap, William Easton, who's in charge of the whole thing, has to pick which 2/3 of this exact same group of people get to die. Or, as Jigsaw would put it, 6 ride the carousel, but only 2 can get off. It's just
Yes.
it was perfect symmetry, it's great storytelling, and the trap's freaking brutal. It's simple, it's everything that Saw is about, and I love the trap. I always go back to Saw 6, and the carousel is a big reason why. And as a smaller note, I do love when uh, at the beginning before the trap starts when one of them yells, "Mr. Easton, what is this?" And he like sighs and says, "It's a game." And I'm
Yes.
always like, "Yeah, now you're getting it."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I
Pretty
love
good.
the carousel, man. It's one of it's got to be number one for me. It's just
Yeah,
great and
good
it
choice.
ticks every box.
Yeah, no, good choice. I think our lists were, we wanted something. We were hoping they would differ. In case you guys wonder,
Yeah,
we literally make our lists, show each other our lists, and we don't change them. Like they're staying the same. Like we don't change them. And this one was just we had with placement, we only had one that was exactly the same, and that was the needle pit.
the needle pit.
It's like outside of that, like we had, some similar ones for different reasons, but I think that's really like what it takes like to really establish a saw trap. And I think like having similarities proves that those traps really are iconic. And I think we gave good reasons for them. So I liked our top 5, but that's gonna do it for today's video. Now, what we wanna see in the comments below is what is your top 5 Saw
Yes.
traps? Like, there are 78 traps currently in the timeline from Saw to Saw X, including Spiral and Jigsaw. Shout out Cody Leach again, 78 traps. It's crazy. What is your
God.
guys' top 5? Let us know in the comment section below. Like I said, our next video we're gonna be doing. Our next video is gonna be a fun discussion that we were talking about. So definitely stay tuned to check out for that. And also, we actually did make an Instagram, so we're new to it. Super goobers on that. So we'll have a link to it in the description below if you guys want to follow us. We'll be posting like our thumbnails and just some random stuff there that you'll see, maybe some behind the scenes stuff or something in the future. But yeah, and then eventually we will be making a Twitter, so that'll eventually be in the description too. But yeah, no, absolutely, definitely check that out. Give us a like, give us a follow, and subscribe to the channel. We really do appreciate it. We appreciate all your guys' support so far, and we're just gonna keep doing this because again, this is our passion project, and yeah, we're always into it. And you got anything else to add, Gage?
Not a single thing. I love Saw. I love this top. I think our top fives are good. I did want to make sure that like it wasn't a case where where it was all traps in the first three movies, for instance, where
Yeah, no.
the bear trap is number one, and then the bathroom's number two, and then like it's just come on, that's a little boring. And I mean it also implies like I see a lot of people's top fives that are just kind of a lot of the original traps, and do the
Yes.
traps fall off to a certain degree as the series goes on? Sure, but that doesn't mean that there aren't still a lot of gems in the later on movies. I especially like a lot of the traps in Spiral for their
Yeah,
simplicity, but
no,
we can
definitely.
do a bit of a discussion on that a little later on. But thank you
Absolutely.
guys for watching. I really hope you enjoyed episode two. We're gonna have episode three. Like I said, is gonna be. You said that's gonna be it's gonna be a just kind of a discussion of where Saw goes from here, and we're gonna have a
Yes,
whole bunch
yes,
of different,
kind of like the future of Saw.
yeah, some
Just
branches. We're gonna.
yeah,
I'm sure that this discussion, by the way, is going to go in 90 different directions that we didn't
right,
intend for them to. So, yeah.
right. It'll be a lot of fun. I think it's gonna be multiple videos probably, so it'll be interesting. So definitely stay tuned for that. But that's all we got for today, you guys. And as Jigs always says, game over.